welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Terri Morrow, and I'm here with Catherine Halenko. Say hi, Catherine.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast, we talk about parenting issues, but once a week, Catherine and I like to get together and discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics, because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. This week, we have another episode of the delightful, genteel, but always puzzling Great American Baking Show to watch. First, however, we are going to talk about the Golden Globes, which we watched last night and tried to live tweet, but not so successfully, thanks to you having to be at a rink without
access,
a streaming Globes channel to watch, and me being so befuddled by all the jumble of categories that I could barely follow the thing. I used to complain back when they would have 1 hour for each type of thing, but that was the way to go. Because I was
that made more sense.
Completely confused. And, there's so many things I don't even know what they are. I have never heard of them. So it's like, okay, is this category movies? Or is it miniseries? Or is it drama series that I haven't heard of? I was unclear, especially with the actors. I was unclear as to what they were being nominated and applauded for. So it was kind of a mess, I think.
Yeah, it was hard to follow. And like you said, it was hard to keep track of who was who and what they were doing. And they would bring out a pair of presenters, and have them do an award. And that would go ahead and do their little thing. And then they would come back to those same two people and have them introduce a completely different award. Like if one was TV, the other one would be movies. But it wouldn't be like the best actress in a comedy and in a drama. It would be like something just completely other.
It made it hard to know, did they give all the awards for each thing? You would have to have a scorecard and check stuff out. I guess I like a more linear thing. Do the supporting actor, do the supporting actress for the same thing. Actor, actress for the same thing. Best of that thing. And then move on to something else. Because otherwise, there's just so many different categories. It's such an odd thing. And given that the foreign press just picks whatever it fancies, so often they're not necessarily things you have heard of. I have, however, heard of La La Land, which the Hollywood foreign press certainly seemed to adore.
Yes, they did. And I guess that was the opening number as well, which I didn't quite follow because I haven't seen La La Land.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people on Twitter were saying, is that anybody who hasn't seen this movie is going to have no idea what's going on. It's like, I knew enough about La La Land to know that that was a takeoff of the opening number from it. I had heard about the opening number.
Okay.
And I knew enough about TV in general to kind of generally know who these people were who were doing their little bits and what it was referring to. But I didn't know enough about that thing to really get the joke.
Yes.
I mean, I guess I know that what's the guy who plays Jon Snow waking up didn't his character came back from the dead, and I know the character of Barb in Stranger Things. I know kind of like little bits around the edges of this pop culture, so I could kind of string it together. But it wasn't a look at that. It was a very, very inside number.
Yes,
it was just establishing right at the beginning of the night. There are the cool kids, and there are the ones who are not. This is an evening for the cool kids.
And if you haven't been spending every waking moment watching TV and movies, you're going to be left out.
Yeah, which is possibly not the right tone to set. I don't know. But, I think back to one of my second favorite award show opening was Jimmy Fallon's for the Emmys in maybe 2010. Doesn't quite surpass Neil Patrick Harris's Tony number, but is close. And one of the most delightful things of that was the surprise to it, that it was, I don't know if you've seen it, but he meets the Glee kids outside. And then they decide that they have to put on a number to get the money for them to be able to go to the Emmys, which is ridiculous. But still, they walk through the halls and they meet people. And at first it's Tina Fey, and of course it's Tina Fey. And then there was a Kate Gosselin joke, which was funny. And then there's more and more people who you kind of expect. And then all of a sudden, there's Joel McHale, and there's Jorge Garcia, and there's all these people. And it was just so delightful to just see this thing steamrolling and all these people from TV just getting added to it. And then they did this great number at the end. So when we're on the red carpet, And the NBC commentators keep going, so are you in the opening number? To each person that goes by, oh yeah, I'm in the opening number. It's like, well, spoiler alert.
That's no fun.
Wouldn't it have been fun to just not know that there was going to be an opening number with a bunch of stars and just all of a sudden see them? So I think that was kind of deflating on NBC's part.
Yes.
It's like, stop it. Because I seem to remember the Emmy one was under top secret, that there were people who were saying, I can't tell you anything about what it's going to be. And that was a delightful aspect of it. So that was kind of unfortunate. And then I guess there was something with the teleprompter that Jimmy Fallon is no longer capable of improvising, apparently, which is that was sad. Disappointing. And, it had all the basic award show things. I mean, the thing that Kristen Wiig and Steve Carell did was really funny, but don't you guys have like 50,000 awards to give out? Shouldn't you probably maybe not give 5 minutes to a fun comedy bit in the middle of it, even though it's funny?
But that was like one of the only funny things.
I guess.
Because I really thought that Jimmy Fallon's commentary was lame.
It was very
throughout.
Yeah,
I mean, and his opening, but not counting the song and dance, but the just general. I don't know what I'm supposed to say right now. Followed by,
dude, you are a professional entertainer. If you can't fake it, turn in your card and go home.
Exactly.
Aye. So and most of the presenter banter was painful. But it's like, towards the end, people who were giving heartfelt speeches were being played off.
Yeah.
It's not cool. If you can't go over, then trim the presenter banter first. And then the speeches.
Yes.
So I really got lost in the middle of it. I was doing some work during commercials, and then pretty soon I was just doing some work through the entire thing and looking up every so often and going, oh shoot, I'm supposed to tweet something. Not the most compelling piece of entertainment. And dresses, the cut down to your belly button look is still there, and it makes me uncomfortable every time I see it, because it makes me put my shoulders back in solidarity with them having to sit the entire night in such a way that their two-sided tape will not give way. And lots of really tight-looking things. I did notice a fair amount of sleeves, which I always applaud.
Right.
And
although in the case of Nicole Kidman, I could not applaud the sleeves, because that whole thing was a hot mess.
Yeah, and Sarah Jessica Parker had some sort of like 3 dresses rolled into one get up. So she did have sleeves, but they weren't actually attached to the shoulders. And then there was a lot of dress there. There was just a lot of dress.
Well, and that was the problem with Kidman's too.
Yes,
what are you trying to do here? Because you need to step back.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of just odd stuff. And I wonder, I was having a Facebook conversation with some friends about it, that, don't they look into the mirror before they leave the house? And what sort of common sense is being exhibited by going out for something like this? I kind of wonder if it's one of those no publicity is bad publicity, or,
if they're talking about you.
If they're talking about you, even if they're making fun of you, your picture is in the paper and your name is on people's lips. And, a nice looking garment that has no spectacular thing about it is not going to get mentioned at all. So at least, even if you're wearing a hot mess, people are talking about you. That must be it. That must be a part of it. And, and even if people say, wow, that's awful, you get points for daring, I guess. Otherwise, really, there's a severe Emperor's New Clothes situation going on, because if they actually think this stuff looks good, I don't know. And I just, with the Golden Globes in particular, I wonder about how do you sit in that for 3 hours and eat and drink and lean across the table to get a dinner roll? It seems so impractical.
Well, I'm pretty sure no one's eating any dinner rolls.
Well, that's true. Evan Rachel Wood could reach for a dinner roll in that suit she was wearing. That girl could get a pitcher of water from across the table. No problem. Nice high collar and suit. I applaud that. But some of those women, had to be, you can't, we've talked about the crumb issue, I think, when they were giving out cookies or something at the Oscars, that, you drop some crumbs down those dresses.
Well,
You're
they're
going to be
going to stick to
uncomfortable
your
all night.
stick to your boob tape.
That's right.
That's not pretty.
And I mean, you can't drink because if you slouch, you're in.
Yeah.
Just seems
So
impractical.
one of the things you tweeted was that you weren't sure whether all the La La Land love made you more or less inclined. So have you made a decision?
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, you weren't probably going to see it anyway.
Well, of the things that there are to see in this award season, that was one of the few that was on my list. Whether I will actually get my butt out of the house into a theater is extremely unlikely because, you know, the hours I have left over after work are mostly devoted to sleep and eating. But, you know, probably it is the kind of thing I would like. But the Hollywood Foreign Press is so weird that if they love something, you kind of got to think, And it did just seem to be winning left and right. I was not the only person who tweeted something along those lines. People were thinking, But, I mean, I like the people in it. I like music. I've listened to the soundtrack quite a lot. And I like it.
For La La Land. Okay.
Yes. So, you know, it probably will not impact whether I would see it or not. But I hope that it doesn't squash its chances for an Oscar. Because this is the kind of thing, the kind of sweep it had at the Golden Globes is the kind of thing that causes a backlash, I think. So we will see what happens. People are going to be making jokes about it. Well, the big news of the evening was Meryl Streep's speech, which I had been amazed that there had been so little politics in the proceedings, really, other than Hugh Laurie. And, I mean, there was a lot of now more than evers in speeches.
If you get my meaning.
That's right. So I kind of wondered if a word had been put out not to do that. But, of course, Meryl Streep can do anything she feels like. And, you know, good on her if she felt strongly about it and wanted to say it. I have said before that I would just like awards shows to be about pretty dresses and funny speeches and leave it at that. And it did not change my mind. But, you know, a lot of people are feeling encouraged by it. My dog seems to have an opinion on it right now.
She would like to be able to speak her mind.
How did you feel about it?
I said on Twitter that I would be happy to just listen to Meryl and Viola Davis, which I did find to be the best part of the whole thing. I think maybe because it just came across as very genuine and very heartfelt. Yes. Both in the relationship that the two of them seem to have, and Meryl Streep mentioning Carrie Fisher, and even setting aside the political stuff, which was obviously a big part of what she said. But you know, I mean, who knows what you say when you get that kind of award?
That's true.
Lifetime Achievement Award.
She's given a lot of speeches in her life, so I imagine she just feels like she would like to do something meaningful with this one.
Right.
And certainly many people did find it meaningful. Many people in the disability community have found it meaningful and have been talking about it today. I wish that it will be a calling forth now to employ people with disabilities in the film industry, to give them more roles, to give them more jobs in all aspects of the industry. Entertainment is a powerful platform for modeling respect and for, you know, showing that people are valued. And it doesn't do any good to say it at a big fancy award show, no matter how eloquently you do it, if you do not follow up. So let's see what you got. Is my feeling. Okay, Hollywood, you gave it a standing O. Let's see what you got. You know, let's stop casting non-disabled people to play disabled people. Let's start casting disabled people to play characters that don't need to be any particular way at all. Let's get writers in. Let's get producers in. Let's get everybody in. So otherwise, that's the way I think when I hear that stuff.
And there were no nominations for Speechless, as far as I
There were none.
can
How
tell.
about that?
So there you go. There's one place to start.
You know, for my money, one Micah Fowler in a mainstream ABC series is worth 20 Golden Globe speeches. So other than that, you know, it made me think fondly of the Oscars, which sometimes is more entertaining or less entertaining, but is, at least I can follow it.
Right. That limited, less diffuse set of awards.
Yes.
Helps.
Yes, it is. It is. That is one. It's just such a weird assortment of things that don't necessarily hold together particularly well, and the choices are usually so idiosyncratic that it's hard to really invest anything much in it.
Right.
But occupies a Sunday.
Yeah. We'll see what happens when it comes to Oscar time.
Yes. And so from one big glitzy competition to one small competition, we watched the Great American Baking Show, the Patisserie episode, which was we're calling this the semifinals, right?
Right, yeah.
And there were 3 bakers left, Jennie, Stephanie, and Amanda. Mm-hmm. And at the end, there were 2 bakers left. So does that mean we have one episode, or are they going to make these poor women bake ridiculous things for 2 more episodes? They're starting to look a little shell-shocked and exhausted, I think. Right. Are they really doing this in, I really, really want to know how this is being put together. Surely it's got to be described on the internet somewhere, isn't it? The time frame that they did this in?
I don't know. We're going to have to do some sleuthing to find that out.
Because they look like they've about had it.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell, where are they? Because they're, dressed in winter clothing, but they're not, but they're still able to be outside. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not, 10 below, so I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
It's very, very odd. And again, I felt myself asking during this episode, why does it have to be so hard? If it normally takes 2 days to make petit-fours, why do they have to do it in 2 hours? Mm-hmm. If you have professional chefs and you want to challenge their abilities, I get the time factor. These are amateur chefs possibly making these things for the first time or a limited number of times in their lives. They're in a stressful situation anyway. Give them 4 hours. Does there have to be? Why does there have to be such a tight time frame on it when you know it's going to screw them up? Right. So, it feels like it's not a baking contest if you're not giving everybody an opportunity to do their best. But, I guess they still managed to pull it off. But, if you're describing your competitions as cruel and as a pastry cage match,
right? They're trying to make it more competitive than it is. And the whole part of the charm is the way that it is sweet and friendly. So don't try to turn it into something that it's not.
Really all the judging commenting is quite nice. Even when they have to call out something as being wrong, they always find something nice to say. Your pastry is raw, but your fillings are delicious. Right.
Small detail. It's raw, but
I respect that. I think that's nice that they do that. And so, if these are true amateurs, I think you could cut them a little more of a break. I think you could tell them, at least they show them what the donut is supposed to look like before they have to make the donut. Maybe they did, because Amanda's looked pretty much exactly like the example. But, tell them what temperature to fry them at. I don't know. It seems to me that some of the difficulty is not necessary.
It's certainly manufactured.
It really is. I wonder if before these people started on this, they gave them a book and said, you will be called upon to use all of these techniques. So at least read it so you have an idea as to what it's going to be. Do they get to practice any of this stuff at home, or is it just, if you came into my kitchen and said, hey, make a donut, I would go well, I quit. I will eat your donuts, but I will not make donuts. That is one of those things you go someplace and buy. But they must have some, because amateur bakers cannot possibly have done all of these different things.
Right.
Could they have? I don't know.
Yeah, and how did they find them and cast them? And
I would really like to know that, because now somebody else has said, was it Stephanie who said she hadn't really been baking that long, or was it Jennie? Somebody else said they hadn't really been baking that long.
Prachi.
Okay. Prachi did, but this week somebody said that also.
Oh, okay. Then I'm not sure.
I don't
It
know.
wasn't Amanda, because she's pretty confident.
No, Amanda is, yes. Except, why do we keep having to have her narrative be about her husband and her kids? And,
right.
Okay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I would be talking about my husband and my kids too. But, you have Stephanie talking about how she wants to use this to get into a new career and bring joy to the world. And then Amanda is, boy, my husband and kids are sure going to be proud of me. Yeah. I don't know. That seems like slanting things. I don't know. It seems like a particular edit that Amanda is getting, but maybe that's her thing. I don't know. I don't judge. That's fine. I think it's adorable that she makes peanut butter and jelly petit fours with her daughter in mind. That's fine. But man, that pear jelly really was great.
Oh, that looked good.
It really looked awful.
I love pears and, the flavor of pears, but I would not have wanted to.
If I bit into something that green, I would expect sour apple or possibly lime.
Yeah.
Pear is a much lighter. Fake pear coloring is a much lighter yellowy green.
Right.
Those whole, whatever that is they made at the end, none of those looked like something I would want to eat. They looked like they would be difficult to eat, didn't they? They looked like there would be no graceful way to eat that.
Right.
They didn't really show, I guess they showed them biting into it a little bit, but.
Yeah, but cutting it apart and getting into
You would have to have the sharpest of sharp knives to cut that thing neatly.
Right.
I don't think I own such a knife. I would be hacking at it, and it would be getting squished and all.
And that would not be attractive.
I suppose if everything involved is delicious, it doesn't really matter. You stick it in a bowl and...
chow down.
Absolutely. So I thought it seemed pretty clear all through the episode that Jennie was going to be a goner.
Yeah.
I liked her. She was one of my early faves, but she seemed a little overmatched.
Right. I agree. And you called it on Stephanie.
She's searching
away
at the end. I'm telling you. She's going to swoop in there unless, Amanda sabotages her in some way, which they seem to keep. You know what I don't like is, and tell me if they do this in the British baking show, the way they were cutting away from the judges talking to a particular person about their finished item. They would cut away to the other contestants kind of looking either nervous or curious or like they were just desperately trolling for stink eye. Come on.
Right.
Give her a sneer. Laugh a little bit when they criticize her. Come on. We're focusing on you. And they really are not obliging with that. But just, when the judges are evaluating somebody's dessert, keep the camera on them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't manufacture
drama. Yeah, I think
drama.
they did do that on.
Did they? I guess that's
the British one too.
About as close to. It's like the entire production is designed to make this a very genteel, positive competition. And then in the editing room, they say, "Oh, what are we going to make of this? This will never do.
We need something.
We need drama. Where can we get drama?" So don't do that. Don't like that. So once again, the being star baker one week proves to be the kiss of death the next.
Yes.
So
goodbye, Jennie. You're very sweet.
Yeah, so watch your back there, Steph.
That's right. Oh, it's like the remember on Survivor they used to talk about the jinx of winning the car.
Yes.
Like if you won the car and then you weren't ever gonna win the season. So I don't know. The following week after you win Star Baker.
Yeah.
Look up. Well, we'll find out. We hope next week, but since we really don't know if they're going to air it, when they're going to air it, whether it's the final one.
If it's 2 eps, they'll be back to back anyway, probably. So they're just burning this thing off, I think.
Right.
Which is too bad, because it's good, and I would like to see another season of it, and I would also like to see production notes. Yes. I would like to see a detailed explanation of what it is we've been watching. But maybe when it's all over, some of the people will talk about it. Maybe not.
I hope so.
But
we'll have to
I
sniff around for
what
that.
What is left for them to have to make in the pastry cage match next week?
Yeah, they showed some glimpses of some things that look like savory.
Oh.
Like one thing that looked like a sandwich, one thing that looked like a sort of a fried dumpling. And I couldn't, and they did even show a little bit of the showstopper, but it was not real clear to me what it was. months.
Okay. So. Well, good luck to Stephanie and Amanda, both worthy competitors. They both seem to be able to make good things under trying circumstances. So I think either of them would be a fine winner.
Yes.
And I look forward to seeing an interview with them afterwards. Although, has there been any PR on this thing? Have you seen any mention of it anywhere?
Very little. I don't think ABC is trying to.
The winner of this doesn't get to go on Good Morning America the next morning. They don't fly them overnight from the campsite somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Campsite.
Nia and Ian will drive her to the nearest train station. That's basically how this ends.
See ya.
With her glass cake plate strapped to her luggage.
Exactly.
The other one they just leave in the wilderness and say, "Good luck, honey.
Right.
Hitchhike home.
Find your way out using your skills at piping."
Exactly. Pipe yourself a little trail through the woods. Here's a pastry bag and some shaved nuts. Good luck. Well, next week, presumably, we will have one more baking show to cover. And I think we're back to watching The West Wing next week, right?
Yes.
We have been holding off while West Wing Weekly was not podcasting, but I think they're back at it. So for next week, we will watch Bartlett's Third State of the Union, which I remember as the one where CJ was not wearing pants. We'll see if I am correct in that memory. Anyway, so that is it for our round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so that you won't miss any of our episodes, including our daily speed rounds and weekly group chats. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Catherine.
Bye, Terri.
Goodbye, everybody.